This is officially how I take my smoothies these days. It's just my normal breakfast smoothie, but you know, we're entering a new era. What? Earrings breaking on me on this fine morning. Let's see if it holds. Okay. We're hanging on by a thread here. Okay. Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. My name is Kitty Mary and today I want to share, talk about 10 of the most effective ways of lowering our impact. I mean, I was going to name the video like non-basic ways of lowering your impact, but that's very subjective. And I don't know if you know about this, because a lot of the time, a lot of people go, well, it's actually not that advanced because I know about it already. Well, good for you. Good for you. So I won't call this like non-basic ways. I will call this the most effective ways. And some of them are easy and some of them are more advanced. Some of them take some prep work and some of them can be done with a phone call. So I don't know, take what you can from this video, and if there is overlap with your pre-existing knowledge, consider yourself a badass. Also, I'm a huge creature of habit and I usually have my notes this way, and now I have my notes this way and it's messing with my energy. A carbon footprint is the total amount of greenhouse gases, including carbon dioxide and methane, that are generated by our actions. The average carbon footprint of a person in the United States is 16 tons, which is one of the highest carbon footprints in the world. Globally, the average is more around 4 tons annually. And to have the best chance at avoiding the 2 degrees rise in global temperatures, the average global carbon footprint per year needs to drop to under 2 tons by 2050. So if that's not motivation to lower your own personal carbon footprint, I don't know what is. I would also like to preface this by saying that I think it's important to acknowledge that the individual personal carbon footprint was actually a marketing scam created by the fossil fuel industry back in the 60s to make consumers point fingers at each other and themselves instead of looking at what they're doing to the environment. Nonetheless, I think it's important to take responsibility for your own impact, even though the narrative started out as something that has absolutely nothing to do with sustainability whatsoever. I still think it's important to take responsibility to hold yourself accountable for your actions and your behavior as a consumer, and to do the very best that you possibly can, whilst also holding big billion-dollar corporations accountable for their massive share in the impact. Anyway, the first thing that you can do to effectively lower your impact is change your bank, babe. So I've made 2 videos about banking and investing. I think it's really interesting and a great way to make your money work for you. You can do it in sustainable ways as well. But did you know that when you use a bank, you become that bank's client or customer? They can use the money that you put into their bank to support different types of projects, to use as investments, etc., as leverage in different types of projects. And many banks, an overwhelming majority, also support fossil fuel projects. That's actually one of the primary types of projects a lot of banks support. And the thing is with this sort of impact is that it's related to you, but not in a direct sense where you are actively doing something, but finding a way for your money not to be spent on fossil fuels or not to be related to fossil fuels can drastically lower your individual carbon footprint because of what you are now not participating in. It usually takes 1 phone call to a bank that does not support fossil fuels simply to change, because they're happy to do that for you. They want you as their client. If you want to know more about the specific types of banks that do support fossil fuels and which do not, I suggest watching the video about the impact of banking. Overall, this is a very passive impact, but it's massively important. And I suggest looking into what type of bank that you have, see if you can change it. You can always change your bank. The next one is sort of up in the same alley, but change your energy supplier. I know that not everybody can change their energy supplier, but a lot of people can. And if you're one of those people that can, change your energy supplier from a fossil fuel based energy supplier to a renewable energy supplier. I've said energy supplier a lot of times now, it's starting to sound weird. This also usually takes 1 phone call or 1 email if you don't like speaking on the phone either. The last 3 places I've lived, including this house, when we moved in, it was a standard energy supplier that was related to not the best type of energy, not the type of energy I was down with. All I did was send an email to a renewable energy supplier asking if I could change. They did everything for me. Again, it's one of those passive types of impacts that just really, really matters, because a lot of our daily carbon footprint comes from energy use of all kinds. So what we use in our homes, what we use to power, cool, and heat our homes, etc. It all matters a lot. Number 3 is support local small businesses rather than big corporations like Unilever and Nestle. This is obviously extremely difficult to do 100% perfectly, because Nestle owns about 2,000 companies, Unilever likewise, Coca-Cola, etc. They own everything. At this point, the world is just 4 corporations in a trench coat. So I know it's super difficult, and this is one of the things every time I talk about sort of trying to phase out these corporations from your daily purchases, there's always a lot of people going, well, actually, did you know that this company is also related to... Yes, but being a person today makes it extremely difficult to completely cut them out altogether, because they've done a bloody good job at making sure that that's impossible. However, do the best you can. Whenever it's possible, support local businesses and support small, sustainable businesses. Mostly because these billion-dollar companies are extremely unethical, both in terms of how they treat the planet and how they treat their workers. And when you work with smaller businesses, you usually get a higher level of transparency. You can talk to the people that actually made the products, and they are often produced more locally as well. All of these things are good things that can help lower your impact as well as your surrounding area's impact. Number 4, whenever you have to buy anything, basically anything, check out if you can find it pre-loved secondhand before you go out and buy something new. It can be something as quick as going onto Facebook Marketplace and searching your local area to see if that thing is available. This also comes with stuff like electronics that we're going to get into in a second as well, but clothing, furniture, kitchen supplies, all this kind of stuff you can find secondhand. So check out if that's an option for you before you buy something new. Because when we buy something, we also create demand for more products to be manufactured. And at this point in time, there's a lot of products, at least, that we don't need producing more of. For instance, clothing, we're producing 100 billion pieces of clothing every single year. And we just don't need that much clothes. Now, I couldn't really talk about the most effective ways of lowering your impact without also talking about transportation. So a lot of our personal carbon footprint is related to the type of transportation that we utilize on an everyday basis. So cars is one of the primary issues here. If you can carpool, if you can walk, bike, take public transportation, that can drastically lower your carbon footprint, even if it's not something you're doing every single day, but simply trying to get into a new habit, minimizing, and see if you can sort of reduce the amount of individual car time that you have. Furthermore, choosing buses and trains over airplanes is also a really good option. Obviously, this doesn't mean that you're not allowed to do these things whatsoever, but simply being mindful and conscious and choosing vacation spots based on easy accessibility. Number 5, I think is really interesting. It's not necessarily one of the biggest, absolutely most important things that we do in our everyday lives, but it does have a really big impact. And in terms of consumer products, I definitely also think there's a lot to be gained here. So low impact online habits. This I both count as electronics, e-waste, how we use electronic devices, as well as how we stay online. So staying online, ta-da, has an impact, and actually a pretty big one of that. The impact of the internet is as big as the impact of airplane travel. Also, there is an impact video specifically about the impact of staying online, so there is that. Also, in terms of how we consume electronic devices, there's a lot to be gained here if we start using secondhand option, refurbishing options, etc., taking good care of things and repairing them once they break. Obviously, I realize that we need some political action in this field as well, because a lot of these bigger tech companies are specifically producing products right now that is designed to break so that we keep buying new and more products, which is absolutely infuriating. Planned obsolescence is So in terms of our own personal impact, simply staying with the devices that we have as long as possible, not upgrading just for aesthetics, etc. is a really good idea. And for goodness sake, get a case for your phone. This next one is just an overall tip related to food waste, how to deal with food waste, how to reduce it. No, but food issue is a prevalent issue all throughout our supply chains and our food systems. It's not only something that exclusively happens in consumer households, but something that we definitely also see a lot from the industry, from supermarkets, from the manufacturer of different products, etc. And that is a place where we definitely need better restrictions on supermarkets and how they handle food waste, how much it's produced, etc. It's a bigger issue than just don't throw food away. Some places it's tax deductible if you throw food away rather than donate it, and vice versa, where donating food is definitely more sustainable than throwing it away, but many companies and supermarkets, etc. choose to not do that because it's expensive for them to donate it, because they have to pay taxes from the donated food, etc. So one thing that you can do if it's legal in your area is dumpster dive. Another thing I want to add to this point as well is composting. So composting all your organic waste is an extremely sustainable solution and a much better alternative to just, throwing it away and letting it rot in a landfill or letting it burn in a waste to energy incinerator plant. Composting it is a better solution to both those issues, and nothing really rots in landfill, by the way. It's tombs for trash. It can take years for simple organic waste products to be broken down, like potato peels, etc. It does not break down because there's no air in landfills, because you have waste and then you add waste on top. And lastly, using all your food, having recipes that work really well with anti-food waste ways. So for instance, I use the broccoli stem to make a vegan cheese sauce. I always do that because the broccoli stem is often just thrown away, which I definitely don't want to do. You can also just add it in a salad, etc. But knowing a couple of ways where you can use things that you would normally throw away that you also really enjoy eating is a really good idea. So I let this one be its very own little thing, but it's actually also related to food waste. But understand what expiration dates mean. So instead of just looking at an expiration date and using that as a rule, a law, use it as a guide instead. So smell the food, look at the food, taste the food to see if it's gone bad or if it's still good, instead of just assuming or trusting the expiration date. The expiration date is not meant as a consumer guide. It's something so that supermarkets can see when things can be sold, etc. It has nothing really to do with us. A lot of food can still be used after its expiration date. Lots of it, really. Next, we have different types of water saving methods. So obviously there's a lot of ways we can save water. Generally, reducing our consumption of any product can help us save water. How we eat, what we eat can help us save water. Taking shorter showers can help us save water, etc. But there are tons of other ways that are equally useful. So one of the things that I have found to be really useful in my everyday life is a water saving tap on my kitchen tap. A bidet is also a really neat way of saving water and saving resources. Having a bidet can reduce the amount of toilet paper you use with 50%. I also definitely recommend, if you have room for it, if you have a garden, etc., get a rainwater collector and use that to water your plants so you don't have to use tap water. Overall, just adds to the conscious way of life. And lastly, could I make a list of 10 ways to be more sustainable, the most effective ways, without also talking about what kind of foods we eat? One of the most effective ways of reducing our impact, next to what kind of heating we're using, what kind of banks we're using, how we're transporting ourselves, is looking at our diet and choosing more sustainable options. That means going primarily plant-based and using local and seasonal produce. It will automatically lower your impact because producing plant-based foods for humans require less resources than producing animal products overall. Just here I am specifically referring to animal agriculture and factory farming. Any product from animal agriculture, factory farming will be more unsustainable or have a higher impact than a plant-based alternative. I am sorry to tell you. And if you want more inspiration and more recipes and more just general motivation on how to sort of phase out animal products and try new recipes and have fun with it, etc., you're definitely also in the right place. I have tons of things, I'll leave them down below. Guides, beginners, recipes that I love, etc. And lastly, I wanted to make this sort of like an not official point, but it's a really, really, really important one as well. So it's going to be number brackets 11 brackets end, and it's get involved, be active in your local community, vote, be present in your community, volunteer, organize, speak up for environmental issues, raise the voices of Indigenous people that are doing so much work for native land and for the environment and for wild nature in general. Show other people that you care, because one of the most inspiring things that we can see in each other is compassion and passion for something. So while it might not be one of those you can see an actual mathematical difference in your carbon footprint if you choose to do this thing, that's not necessarily the case. And then again, it actually does matter, because while consumers might not have the power to change everything by themselves, we do definitely have power to push for certain movements. We have the power to push for certain change. Anything is definitely not happening if we don't care. I hope that this video helped. These were 10/11 most effective ways to make your carbon footprint lower. I hope you liked this video. If you did, leave a comment down below and tell me what are these things you do on the daily or have done, or what I forgot on this list, because I'm sure there are many other things. Like, there definitely are many other things that we could also include, but then again, this video would be too long. So thank you so much for watching. Have an amazing day, and I will see you guys next time. Take really good care of yourselves. Until then, bye. Thank you so much for watching this video, and also a special thank you to my Patreon supporters. You guys help me create green, zero-waste content, and I love you guys. You can find the links to my social media accounts down below and the link to my Patreon on this screen. Bye!